Let's talk about this.
In a shocking twist that set the entertainment world ablaze, a fiery confrontation between Mendeecees and Tamar Braxton has become the talk of every platform. Reports claim it all began when Mendeecees stumbled upon something unexpected on Tamar's phone, a private video connected to Yandy. What started as a tense argument spiraled into chaos, ending with Mendeecees allegedly destroying Tamar's phone in a burst of rage. The explosive moment blurred lines between loyalty, jealousy, and betrayal, leaving fans speechless. Social media erupted with wild theories and endless speculation, each comment adding fuel to the fire. Some call it a love and hip-hop style explosion, while others believe the truth runs deeper than anyone admits. As tempers flare and trust shatters, one haunting question remains: what exactly was on that phone that pushed Mendeecees over the edge? The night began quietly, with Tamar alone in her apartment, scrolling through her phone, unaware that Mendeecees was already on his way. Beneath the calm surface, weeks of unresolved tension were waiting to erupt. Friends close to the pair had sensed the distance growing, the kind of emotional static that hums before something breaks. Tamar had been guarded, choosing silence over confrontation, while Mendeecees carried the unease of suspicion he couldn't shake. The air that night was heavy, almost electric, filled with unspoken words neither dared to voice. Fans online had already whispered about cracks in their connection, but no one expected what was coming. When Mendeecees stepped out of his car and made his way to Tamar's door, his mind was already spinning, fragments of rumors, half-truths, and jealousy weaving into a dangerous storm. Behind that door, two strong personalities were about to collide. Tamar, confident yet weary, greeted him with cautious warmth, unaware that his mood had already shifted. What began as small talk soon turned sharp, their tones shifting like sparks scraping metal. Accusations lingered just beneath the surface, ready to ignite. Both had been under public pressure for weeks: appearances, fans, interviews, each moment feeding into private frustrations. For Mendeecees, the late-night visit wasn't just about seeing Tamar, it was about getting answers. For Tamar, it was about setting boundaries. Every look, every pause between words carried weight. The calm before the storm lasted only minutes before emotion began to overpower reason. And as the night deepened, so did the sense that something irreversible was coming. The tension wrapped around them like a tightening wire, and neither could see a way out without confrontation. When Mendeecees entered the apartment, his greeting was casual, but his tone carried a sharp edge. Tamar sensed it immediately. The conversation started simple, but every line carried an undertone of distrust. He spoke of communication, honesty, and transparency, words that felt more like accusations than conversation. Tamar, never one to back down, met his intensity with her own, asking why he seemed distant and defensive lately. What began as a discussion about respect turned into a heated back and forth, voices rising, emotions cracking through restraint. The air grew heavy with frustration. Mendeecees, pacing, tried to control his anger, but something in Tamar's calm composure seemed to fuel him further. Then, as she reached for her phone, his attention snapped. The act seemed innocent, but for him, it was proof. Suspicion roared louder than reason. His voice tightened as he demanded to know what she was hiding, and Tamar's refusal to answer quickly turned the argument into an emotional standoff. The apartment, moments ago warm and quiet, now echoed with tension. That single moment, her phone in her hand, became the spark that ignited the confrontation everyone would soon be talking about. The argument reached a boiling point when Mendeecees' patience finally snapped. His voice turned cold, cutting through the thick air as he demanded to see Tamar's phone. He claimed he had a right to know what she was hiding, that transparency was part of love. Tamar, holding her ground, refused, her tone calm but firm, her stance unshaken. She told him that trust wasn't built through force or suspicion, and that privacy wasn't a crime. The exchange turned tense, words tumbling faster, sharper. Mendeecees' frustration deepened as Tamar stood her ground, clutching her phone close. Every second of silence between them seemed to scream louder than their words. He stepped closer, his voice rising, insisting again that she hand it over. Tamar shook her head, repeating that boundaries were sacred, even in relationships. That single act of defiance, her refusal, shifted everything. The balance of power in the room changed. Mendeecees' anger boiled into something volatile, his emotions clouded by jealousy and confusion. And in that instant, as her phone remained firmly in her grip, a spark of rage flared that neither of them could contain. What happened next would shatter not just a device, but the fragile trust that had held their relationship together. In a flash, the heated words turned into movement. Mendeecees reached for Tamar's phone, his emotions blinding his reason. Tamar instinctively pulled away, her voice rising in shock. "Don't touch me," she warned, but his frustration overpowered restraint. The brief struggle that followed was chaotic, a blur of shouting, emotion, and disbelief. Neighbors later described hearing raised voices, a sharp thud, and then silence. Inside, the scene was raw. Mendeecees, consumed by anger, managed to snatch the phone from Tamar's hands. She lunged to take it back, pleading with him to stop, but it was too late. In one explosive motion, he hurled the device against a nearby surface. The sound of shattering glass filled the room, echoing through the apartment like a breaking promise. Time seemed to freeze. The fragments of the phone scattered across the floor, glinting under the dim light, each piece a symbol of something lost. Tamar stood frozen, tears welling as disbelief replaced anger. The act wasn't just violent, it was final. The destruction of that phone represented something far deeper, the ultimate violation of trust. Mendeecees' chest heaved as silence settled, his anger slowly giving way to regret. Tamar's expression was unreadable, a mix of fear, sadness, and shock. The moment lingered painfully long, the tension so thick it was almost physical. What had started as suspicion had turned into devastation. The phone lay in pieces, and with it, the foundation of their relationship. Neither spoke for several moments, both aware that nothing could undo what had just happened. The silence that followed was haunting. Tamar, trembling, stared at the shattered phone on the floor, unable to process what had just happened. The apartment felt colder, heavier, filled with the echo of everything unsaid. Mendeecees stood still, the weight of his actions pressing down as the reality of what he'd done sank in. Tamar's voice broke the silence, a shaky, disbelieving whisper asking, "Why would you do that?" He tried to speak, but his words faltered. Outside, neighbors who had overheard the argument whispered among themselves. Some later claimed they'd heard glass breaking. Others described hearing Tamar crying softly afterward. Within minutes, the story began spreading through text messages and social media posts, turning a private moment into a public storm. Tamar's close friends rushed to check on her. Shocked by what they saw, they urged her to breathe, to step away, to call someone she trusted. The emotional fallout was immediate, hurt, anger, confusion mixing into a wave she couldn't stop. Family members were alerted soon after. Some took her side instantly, furious that anyone would destroy something so personal. Others urged calm, hoping to prevent things from escalating further. Mendeecees tried to apologize, but his words felt hollow against the sound of Tamar's tears. The atmosphere in the room was unbearable, thick with grief, disbelief, and betrayal. Every piece of broken glass reflected the shattered trust between them. As Tamar sat on the couch, silently staring at what remained of her phone, one truth became clear. This wasn't just a fight, it was the breaking point. The night that began with tension had now turned into a defining moment neither could ever forget. And outside those apartment walls, whispers were already turning into headlines. Just when it seemed the confrontation couldn't grow more explosive, whispers began to surface about what Mendeecees had actually seen before he destroyed the phone, a private video linked to Yandy. Sources close to the situation claimed that clip was the trigger, the reason his emotions snapped from anger to fury. The video's contents remain undisclosed, but insiders insist it was deeply personal, something never meant for his eyes. For Tamar, the revelation was devastating. She reportedly never intended for that file to cause harm. It was private, sensitive, and now weaponized by misunderstanding. Mendeecees, on the other hand, felt blindsided. That single discovery twisted everything he thought he knew, feeding jealousy, insecurity, and the fear of public embarrassment. The emotional weight was unbearable, as both tried to make sense of how something so private could spiral into chaos. The room that once held warmth now echoed with silence and regret. Yandy's name, once associated with friendship and business ties, became the center of speculation, adding another layer to an already volatile triangle. What began as a simple argument had evolved into a storm of emotion, betrayal, and confusion, proof that one video could ignite a chain reaction neither Tamar nor Mendeecees could ever take back. And as rumors spread, the story's reach began to grow far beyond that apartment's four walls. By morning, the internet had turned the private clash into a public frenzy. Hashtags like Tamar and Mendeecees and Yandy video exploded across every platform. Fans dissected every rumor, every alleged detail, each trying to piece together the truth behind the chaos. Some sided with Tamar, praising her for defending her privacy and calling Mendeecees' reaction toxic. Others argued he was reacting from a place of pain and betrayal. The debates were fierce, comment sections filled with passion, outrage, and speculation. Influencers began creating think pieces, dissecting what the situation said about love, trust, and fame. Memes surfaced, screenshots circulated, and even verified accounts joined the conversation. The once private drama had become digital fire, spreading faster than either of them could respond. Tamar's fans urged her to speak out. Mendeecees' supporters begged him to explain his side, but both remained silent, perhaps realizing that every word could make the storm worse. The silence only fueled more theories, leaving millions wondering what was truth, what was rumor, and who in this tangled web was really to blame. In the days that followed, both Tamar and Mendeecees were forced to confront the emotional wreckage. Tamar, still shaken, reportedly spent sleepless nights replaying the argument in her mind. The sound of shattering glass echoed in her memory, symbolizing everything broken between them. Friends said she oscillated between anger and heartbreak, furious at the invasion of her privacy, yet grieving for a bond that now felt impossible to repair. Mendeecees, meanwhile, battled his own storm. Regret began to replace rage, but pride made it hard to reach out. Those close to him described a man torn between guilt and justification, someone who knew he went too far yet couldn't fully admit why. When he finally did reach out, his messages were cautious, apologetic, but defensive. Tamar read them but didn't reply. Her silence spoke louder than any words could. Days later, mutual friends arranged a meeting. It was brief, tense, and heavy with unspoken emotion. Tamar's eyes reportedly held both hurt and disbelief, while Mendeecees struggled to find the right words. He apologized for the destruction, claiming he'd simply lost control, but Tamar made it clear that trust once shattered couldn't be fixed overnight. The conversation ended with a quiet understanding. They both needed space. In private, Mendeecees confided that his anger had been fueled not only by jealousy, but by fear that something intimate had been shared, fear of humiliation, fear of losing control of his image. Tamar, for her part, began rebuilding emotional boundaries, focusing on self-care and protecting her peace. Both remained under relentless public scrutiny, their every move dissected online. Yet behind the noise was something simpler and more human. Two people broken by misunderstanding, caught between love, pride, and the weight of a world watching their pain unfold. What neither knew was that the aftermath was far from over. Legal questions and moral debates were waiting just ahead. As the dust began to settle, reality took a serious turn. Behind the scenes, both Tamar and Mendeecees quietly sought legal advice. Sources revealed that Tamar's team viewed the destruction of her phone not just as an emotional incident, but as a potential case of property damage and harassment. Lawyers advised her to document everything: photos, witness accounts, even messages leading up to the argument. Mendeecees' camp, on the other hand, moved quickly to manage the fallout, urging him to issue a private apology and avoid any public statements that could worsen his situation. Legal experts began weighing in online, emphasizing that emotions don't excuse physical actions, especially when property and privacy are involved. The threat of formal charges loomed, and advisors from both sides knew one wrong move could turn personal drama into a courtroom battle. Each decision now carried legal weight, and both understood that public perception could easily sway the outcome. What had begun as a private fight was now entangled in contracts, image management, and the cold precision of legal strategy, proof that in the world of fame, even love can end up requiring a legal defense. The confrontation sparked deeper conversations far beyond celebrity gossip. Experts in media and psychology began dissecting what the clash revealed about digital trust in modern relationships. They noted how the boundaries between privacy and partnership have blurred in an era where personal data lives in fragile devices. The destruction of Tamar's phone wasn't just an act of anger. It became a symbol of what happens when emotion overrides communication. Analysts pointed out that the public nature of their lives amplified everything, turning a moment of vulnerability into a global spectacle. Relationship specialists weighed in too, reminding audiences that privacy isn't secrecy and that demanding total access often signals insecurity, not love. Social commentators called it a cautionary tale for anyone living under online scrutiny, how one impulsive act can reshape reputations overnight. The incident forced fans and followers alike to confront uncomfortable truths about jealousy, control, and emotional responsibility. Whether or not legal consequences followed, the moral consequences were already clear. It was a harsh lesson in how fragile trust can be and how quickly it can shatter when exposed to the glare of the public eye. In the weeks that followed, both Tamar and Mendeecees began to rebuild quietly. Tamar focused on healing, tightening her circle, and reclaiming her peace. She replaced what was lost and vowed never to let anyone cross her boundaries again. Mendeecees, humbled by the backlash, worked to repair his image and reflect on the choices that brought him there. The two have not confirmed reconciliation, but insiders hint that time apart may have softened the anger. Still, the scars remain, a reminder that love under the spotlight can be both beautiful and brutal. This explosive chapter leaves one lingering question: how much privacy does love owe? Was Mendeecees justified, or did he cross the line beyond forgiveness? Tell us what you think below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping updates from the world of reality TV drama. Your voice keeps the story alive.